Welcome to Love Light with Dr. Jean Marie Farish. Today, we'll show you how to use the spirit of love and self-worth to improve the connections with everyone else in your life. This program is your weekly gift, and it will keep on giving. You'll see. Now, here's your host, Dr. Jean Marie Farish.
Greetings and a hearty welcome, everyone. I hope you're all faring well. I'm Dr. Jean Marie, your Love Light host, coming to you from the Voice America Empowerment Channel, shining love light into your hearts and homes to inspire and empower you to create a life you love. We are truly grateful to our worldwide listeners who tune in live and on demand. We have a fantastic show today. There is no such thing as work-life balance, with our outstanding guest, Heather Stewart, joining us today from Toronto, Canada. Compartmentalizing our lives to attain a more balanced lifestyle can leave us feeling even more fragmented and out of alignment that goes against the concept of wholeness, unity, and harmony within ourselves and our outer world. Harmony is a state of being at one with ourselves, fully integrating our mind, body, and soul. It is a state of balance, peace, and coherence within, and involves integration of our entire being, including our values, actions, thoughts, and emotions. But in order to be in harmony with others and our surroundings, we must be in harmony with ourselves. So what does it take to be in harmony with ourselves, others, and our surroundings? Well, our outstanding guest today, Heather Stewart, again joining us from Toronto, Canada, will share a new outlook and mindset for how to achieve harmony in our lives. Heather's mission is to help others create their best lives. Heather's journey is a testament to her relentless pursuit of fulfillment and purpose. And after a successful career in corporate finance, she felt a lingering sense of discontent. Despite the financial stability and camaraderie, she knew something crucial was missing from her life. In seeking to rebalance her own health and discover her purpose, Heather ventured into the world of wellness, embracing practices like yoga, personal training, meditation, and massage therapy. Yet, amidst the rewards and sense of fulfillment of these practices, she sensed a yearning to make an even greater impact to address the holistic well-being of others. And thus, Heather found her calling in coaching. Drawing from her corporate background, she understands the pressures of high-stake careers and demands of entrepreneurship. Yet she also knows the transformative power of self-care and mindfulness. And today, Heather's journey continues as she shares her wisdom and guides others on their paths to fulfillment and balance. And with her unique blend of business acumen and wellness expertise, she's on a mission to empower individuals to thrive in all aspects of their lives. And that's simply beautiful. So now I am honored to welcome and bring forth Heather Stewart on our show today. There is no such thing as work-life balance. Heather, welcome to Love Light.
Thank you so much. Oh my goodness. I am going to have you introduce me everywhere that I go.
Well, Heather, it's the truth. And, we all walk our path, and you have such an exciting and interesting journey. And what's so profound is that you discovered some things, and now you're making a difference in the lives of others. And we are truly grateful for that. And Heather, I know I kind of introduced you and shared some highlights from your life, but can you really tell us, a little bit about what inspired your work and how did you come into balance? What inspired you to do this work today?
Right. And it's interesting coming into balance. I feel like we're always a work in process, aren't we? So
Yes.
I can tell you the so far so far
Yes.
where I've gotten to. And I did start in that corporate financial life. I was a CPA, and I was doing quite well. But I never really, I was the black sheep of the finance department. I didn't really fit the normal mold of what it was like to be a financial executive. It was interesting. I always felt a little bit out of place. And
Mhm.
even though I was successful, you get the promotions and you keep moving up and you keep moving up. Part of me kept saying, this, like you said, it's just something isn't right. And I remember a
Yes.
conversation I had one day with a woman because I was coming to the end. This was right around the time that I left. I was coming to the end of this big project that I'd been working on. And the next step was a promotion
Hmm.
to be a controller. And I said to one of my coworkers, I said, I don't want to trade more of my life for the money. I just would rather not have a promotion. It was
Yes.
just like you're trading your well-being and your health sometimes for this carrot of this upward momentum of a career when
Yes.
it doesn't fit everyone, right? It didn't feel like the right space. So it was a perfect transition point because my role in the project was ending and I could just quietly slip out the side door.
Yes. Yes. Heather, it's interesting because I know for myself as well, I ask those existential questions. I spent my career in higher education, and of course, I guess there comes a time I love the teaching, but as an administrator as well, it's like you can reach that point where you start looking for, why am I here? What is my purpose? It has to be more to life, so I can really appreciate that and those questions that inspire you because it's something that keeps tugging within yourself, right?
It is. And you don't, if you, it's interesting because right around the time that I left, I had actually started to practice yoga for stress relief because my job was quite stressful. And I had started to do meditation because someone said it was good for stress. So all of these things I actually started because I thought it would just help me manage my job, not that it was going to make me realize wrong job, time to move on.
Yes, yes.
And it's interesting, like if you find those quiet spaces where you can step out of that whirlwind of every day, that's when you find the if maybe it's not a voice, just a sensation, just something that's like, oh, there's something else besides this, and maybe it's okay for me to go that direction. Some people are afraid to make that big kind of change, but I think it was in that really new yoga practice, really new meditation practice. I was very beginner. I thought I didn't know anything, and now I know I don't know anything. but it gives you enough space to step out of your normal life
Yes.
and whatever drives you every day and have some space to hear the quiet voice of your inner self saying, hey, let's go do this instead.
Yes. What's so interesting, of course, I love yoga as well. I've done it for many, many years. And it's like you're constantly searching for something to keep you in balance,
Yeah.
and you're looking for these things that you can, join or be a part of to help you feel, more in sync with yourself. So I really appreciate, your journey and all of the things that you were involved in, the yoga, so many aspects of trying to kind of get yourself centered and to stay in balance.
Right. And it's funny, the reason that you coined the phrase real life coach, there's life coaches, there's wellness coaches, there's all these coaches. And I said, I'm going to be a real life coach because I
Yes.
recognized that you can have this fantasy idea of what life will be when life is perfect, but knowing that life is always navigating the shifts and changes, and any way that I help people has to fit into their real life right then. You know, it can't be something, if it's not something manageable that will help them find more harmony in the situation that's going on for them, even as we start to try and alter it or shift it, it still has to be able to fit into their real life. You know, it has to be something they can take and not feel like they're more overwhelmed than before they met me.
Yes, and Heather, we spend so much time investing in our education and training, and as you indicated, some people may want to make a change but feel like, hey, I'm in too deep, I can't make a change, and they stay and kind of, maybe are not as fulfilled in the job, but because they've invested in themselves and their training, it takes courage to step away from that. But we can always use what we've learned and incorporate it in our lives, whether it's the self-discipline or, facets of the knowledge that we've gained. So nothing is really lost.
And it is funny that we tie so much of I'm thinking about work. We tie so much of our identity into all of that training and all of that work.
Yes.
And to become a CPA is no small task.
Oh, no. Really?
And I remember a friend of mine took me out to lunch when I announced that I was leaving and I was going to go become a yoga teacher. And because he truly thought I had lost my mind, he was going to take me down to the mental health facility. And he fully intended to have me committed. And I thought, all I'm doing is changing my job. It was kind of comical to me, but I understand. And it's a scary thing to make that kind of a change. And I had this epiphany last week that I want to share with you. Sure. That when we have made a decision about something like your career, it creates an identity that True. you are, I am this. And when you want to change it, you feel like, oh my goodness, then who will I be? But the epiphany that I had was when you step back from that as an identity and more as, like you said, just an experience, you can view this. So I viewed this CPA as a doorway to help me obtain something rather than a path that I had to follow.
Oh, that's interesting. Yes.
Right?
Yes.
So it doesn't mean you have to keep it. It means that you got all of that experience, you got all of that knowledge, and it opened a door for me to go somewhere else. So when I decided to leave corporate, I was really well established. So I could take a year off and go to India and study yoga and figure out what I wanted to do with my life. And I could go back to school and not be in debt. And I could do all of these things because I had walked through that door, but now I was going through another door.
Perfect. And Heather, I love the real life coach. It really rings true and rings home because we're taught how to work and how to accomplish our work task or whatever, but not really how to live. So thankfully, you as a real life coach, you're showing us how to have that balance and harmony in our lives. Can you, for our listeners out there, can you define balance and what does it look like to and feel like to practice it?
So balance, and sometimes I use the word harmony because when you're in that point of perfect balance, you are always shifting and changing. So you're trying to harmonize. And you think about, we don't want to separate. I know we were talking about work-life balance. You don't want to split yourself into two pieces. This is my work, it's over here, and this is the rest of my life over here. Yes. So I prefer to think of it as this like umbrella of things. So all of your life should be grouped into you. All of your life should be included in you. And your work is part of that, but it's only one piece of it. So when I think about harmonizing my life, I think about, and it spells the word become. So for people who love acronyms, you're going to like this one. B is body, so your physical health. E is your emotions, your emotional health. C is your community, your relationships, the people around you. O is your occupation. I have a client who's retired. She calls it her beloved vocation. If you're, maybe it's volunteer work. It doesn't have to be a paying job. M is money. It is financial, like you do want financial wellness to support you. And E is your engagement or your spiritual health, that sense of your purpose. Mm-hmm. So by balancing those 6 aspects and letting them integrate with each other, they support each other. So if something happens, like you lose your job, all of these other pieces are there to come in and support you. Or if something happens with your health, something can come in and support you.
Heather, I love that. And when we tune into our next segment, I love for you to really break it down, because your analogy here is really what the acronym has become.
Yeah.
So that is fantastic. And in our second segment, I love for you to really talk more about it, and even how it applied to your life, as well as we really talk about, the blocks to living a harmonious and balanced life. And I love your term about harmony, because we're, striving to be in harmony with ourselves seems like a lost job. And you're helping us bring our focus back to being in harmony with ourselves, that help us achieve that holistic balance in our lives that we so seek. But right now, I think we're up for a brief commercial break. So for our listeners, stay tuned for more with our outstanding guest, Heather Stewart, joining us today from Toronto, Canada. On our show today, there's no such thing as work-life balance. And Heather is a real-life coach and host of the Prosperity Flow podcast, with a mission to empower people to create their best lives. So stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Follow Voice America at facebook.com/Voice America for juicy updates from your favorite radio shows and podcasts.
Our thoughts and feelings not only affect our own lives, but the lives of everyone around us. Find new meanings of love, authentic expressions, and better connections with the people in your life. Tune in to Love Light with Dr. Jean Marie Farish. This program will feature guests and discuss ideas that will bring a better life to you. When you find this perspective on love, it will change everything. Listen live every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time and 9 a.m. Pacific Time on the Voice America Empowerment Channel.
Change your world. Change your life. VoiceAmericaEmpowerment.com.
Become a member of VoiceAmerica.com. It's easy, and best of all, it's free. Start out by going to our homepage or any of our channels and click register at the top. Once you've created an account and signed in, you can create your own custom library, opt into our newsletter, search by show, host, guest, or topic of interest, or browse millions of hours of content across all of our Voice America radio channels. Membership gets you more. Visit VoiceAmerica.com today to get started and tailor the listening experience to your taste.
You are tuned in to Love Light with Dr. Jean Marie Farish. Feel free to connect with our program through email or check out our links on Facebook. Reach Jean at Jean72Farish@yahoo.com. That's Jean72Farish@yahoo.com. And now, back to Love Light.
Well, welcome back to Love Light, living in the spirit of love. And if you're just joining us, we are with our outstanding guest today, Heather Stewart, joining us from Toronto, Canada. And Heather is a real life coach, and she is the host of Back to Me podcast. And she is an amazing person. She's on our show today to talk to us about our topic here. There's no such thing as work-life balance. And when we concluded in our first segment, Heather talked about the acronym BECOME, and she broke it down, what the meaning is. But in this segment, she's going to really help us apply it to our everyday life. So Heather, take it from there.
All right.
Yes.
So, the acronym BECOME. And I have to tell you, the acronym and the podcast, the Back to Me podcast, actually came to me when I was lying in the hospital. And it was very unexpected. So I did leave the corporate world and I went into the wellness world. And, I was doing the yoga and I was a massage therapist. And I had started to do business coaching because I had, like you said, I still had that experience of being an accountant. I had all that knowledge. So I was helping health and wellness people with understanding how to manage their finances. And I had applied I had found all of these tools to help me. I was taking care of myself physically. I was happy. I had a great community of people around me. I liked my jobs, and I was still financially good. And I felt like I was achieving my purpose. So everything, I was in harmony. On a daily basis, you shift and change, but I was in this nice place of harmony. And I had a stroke, which was quite shocking to me because I was really healthy. And I mean, for people who have some medical background, it was idiopathic. They said, oh, we don't know why it happened. I had a dissection of my carotid artery that had a blood clot that went to my brain. So I was in the hospital, and it was during the time when there was still a lot of COVID going on. And I was in the emergency room. So no one could visit me in the ER because of COVID reasons. And there was no beds in the hospital. So I spent 3 days in the emergency room by myself.
Oh my goodness.
And a lot of things came to me during that time. Talk about finding a place to be quiet and think, because the stroke had affected my vision. So I couldn't do what people usually do, which is use their telephone to escape what's happening, go to social media or play games or something. And I was in this space where my physical health was affected, right? So I'm lying there. Now, interestingly, I wasn't worried. Like, all of the other pieces of my life were working really well. So they actually came in to support me because I had been in balance until I hit this bump in the road of this stroke. So a friend of mine in my community, she found out what happened, and she called everybody she knew. And she even called people she didn't know, but she knew that I knew, to tell them what had happened. So they would all send me a voice message because she knew I couldn't see my phone. So they sent me all these voice messages, wishing me well, cheering me up. They couldn't all talk to me because things were going on, but they knew they could send me a voice message, and then I could listen to it when I was feeling a bit down and out.
How thoughtful.
So, and that gesture still just gets the emotions stirred up in me.
So caring, so caring.
Right?
Mm-hmm.
And emotionally, at first I was in that, you doctors don't know what you're talking about. And then I realized, this is a good place to be if there's something wrong. So I decided, instead of fighting and, resisting what was going on, I surrendered to what was going on and allowed these people to help me. But it didn't mean that I was giving up. For me, surrender is not giving up. For me, surrender is being okay in the situation that's happening emotionally, and knowing that I knew deep inside of me that this was just a bump. It wasn't the rest of my life. Something was happening that I needed to pay attention to. So I said, okay, you guys take care of my body, and I'm just going to sit here and think about what the heck is going on.
Yes. And then your mindset. I mean, look at how you're I love how your mindset, the surrender, and then you allow the doctors to do their thing. But here you're still, busy thinking about, your own healing or, keeping harmony within yourselves. But go ahead.
And I used a lot of visualization while I was lying there and thinking about life. And, funny things go through your head, like, how am I going to work? And because I'm also an artist and I had this weird double vision, I said, how am I going to paint? What if I can never see straight again? All these things happen. And it's okay that they pop into your head because that's normal. What the strategy is to stay in a place of more harmonious or more trust is don't get caught up in that story that you're telling yourself. So I said, okay, well, this is what's happening right now. So let me just sit back and let ideas come into me. So the idea of my podcast came because I said, well, it's time to get back to me and I'm going to need some time for myself to take care of myself. And all of my clients, all of my customers, all of these people were like, yes, Heather, we're here for you. You just do whatever you need to do. One of my clients had said, can I just pre-purchase a whole bunch of sessions with you? And I'll use, because she didn't want me to be in financial straits. I thought, oh my goodness, that is so generous.
Yes, yes.
And, I knew I was still on the right path. I knew I was still following my calling. But what I felt like was that this 3 days in the emergency room was a 3-day silent retreat from the universe, a gift from the universe. And what it was trying to tell me was, yes, I was on the right path, but I needed to go bigger. I was playing too small.
Wow.
Right? So that's when it exploded into instead of just business coaching, I'm like, no, it has to be life. I have to help people understand how to get all of their pieces so they're supporting each other. Because, my business or my physical wellness was down, but the rest of the pieces were in place to support me. Right? So I didn't have to worry.
Because most of the time, one incident, physical, can throw everything out of balance. But look, for you, it's like you kind of had those other things in place. So when the physical health was, you had to work on that, all the other places, all the other aspects were in place. And, that enabled you to focus more on the physical health.
Yes. And think about it even from, it's not uncommon that if someone loses their job, I think there's some statistic, there's some very huge percentage of people in North America who are one paycheck away from, homelessness, basically.
Yes.
So imagine if you lose your job, how huge that is if the rest of your pieces aren't there to support you. So if you haven't got a financial buffer, if you don't have a financial buffer, your financial wellness is not in the greatest of space, and if your whole life is dependent on this one job, how does that affect you emotionally? And what are your relationships like? I mean, they're all so intertwined together because it's all you. It's all you. They can't not be intertwined. And I only separate them into pieces to help people wrap their heads around it.
Yeah. But may I ask you something about your Back to Me title for your podcast? Can you highlight the Back to Me? And I love what you were saying because, everything is really, it brings us home to ourselves. So can you just explain a little bit about Back to Me? Why that?
Yeah, absolutely.
Sure.
So as I was in the hospital, because I'd had a business podcast at the time, and I decided, no, the name came to me as Back to Me, and it's called Wellness Your Way. And what I wanted to do with that podcast, and I love that you were a guest on the podcast as well, my friend. So
yes.
Everybody should go check out that episode.
And you are an outstanding host.
Oh, thank you.
And coach. Yes, I love that. The opportunity to be on your show.
Right.
But go ahead.
So knowing that to reach a broader audience, you need to be able to, get out. I can't stand on top of the building and yell for people to hear me. So I had to find a platform that could send out as much information as possible. So what I do is I bring on every week someone who is also trying to help people get out there and find an aspect of their wellness that they need to work on. So I talked to you about love and love
Yes.
light.
Yes.
And I've talked to financial planners who have advice, like easy to implement advice on how to get yourself in order. I've talked to holistic nutritionists. I actually talked to a sexual fantasy expert recently.
All aspects.
Yeah. Well,
Yes.
it's all interesting. And I've talked to yogis, and I've just talked to so many people, and with all of it, with the intention to provide resources for people. Because you might ask me something about, I don't know, something that I don't know about. And I'm like, wow, I don't know the answer, but I know someone who can help you. So I love being able to know, I love knowing that first of all, I'm not everyone's cup of tea, vast network of people that I want to be able to give people access to so they can find what they need.
And Heather, you had an amazing opportunity to sit in on the Dalai Lama's session,
did.
Right?
Oh my goodness.
Fantastic.
Yeah, that was amazing. And it was completely unexpected. It was right after I left the corporate world. I went to India to travel, and I was way, way over in Bodh Gaya, which is where the Buddha sat under the Bodhi tree and found enlightenment. And I was doing a silent retreat with a monk. And she commented that the Dalai Lama was going to be in his residence. And I thought, what? This is 20 years ago. So you couldn't just Google things. I had to go to an internet cafe. And I looked it up, and it wasn't on his calendar. So I sent an email to the Office of His Holiness, and the Office of His Holiness responded to me. I almost lost my mind.
Meant to be.
And he was going to be in Dharamshala, which is where his residence is, and he was giving a teaching on the Flower Garland Sutra to some Japanese monks who were there. So I got on the train, 24 hours, all the way back across India to see the Dalai Lama. And I tell you, there weren't that many people there because it wasn't on his calendar. There was, a few, maybe a handful of Westerners, mostly monks. And we sat every day for 5 days listening. And these and he's quite jovial. He jokes a lot. And when he would come across the courtyard and up the steps into the temple, you could feel his energy and the energy of the people who were so excited to see him, because there were a lot of Tibetans there. And the lovely Tibetan people, I have to tell you, we sat and watched and listened, and we had little transistor radios for the translation. But these gentlemen who, their life is so interesting. They probably walked across the mountains to get to India. And they were so welcoming. They made sure we had cushions to sit on. They made sure that we had tea. When the tea came around, they would fill our cup. And every day they were giving us food. But when we tried to return the favor and, offered to share with them, they didn't want any, because we were the guests, and they just wanted to make sure we were welcome and cared for. And they were just, their smiles were so heartwarming. Like, they were such lovely men. Just such a nice experience, really.
Yes, and Heather, you've had such enriching life experiences and travels, and all of that has really shaped your life and, made you who you are and inspire you on your journey forward to help others live their best lives. So
I think it's really just been trust. Trusting.
And I love what you said about the surrender. Sometimes we have to just surrender and be open to life and be open to the miracles and manifestations that are available for us. So, and I love what you're saying, trust, right? Have that faith and trust.
Trust that you are on the right path, and trust that whatever's happening is going to teach you something.
And
it seems bad.
And I love what you were saying about your stroke and how you really use that as an opportunity. You accepted where you were, but you look at what grew out of that whole experience.
Yeah,
Right?
exactly. Exactly.
That's so powerful. Well, Heather, I think we're up for another commercial break, and we got to get to that acronym when we come back. Become, because we're all in a state of becoming. But for our listeners, just stay tuned for more with our outstanding guest, Heather Stewart, joining us today from Toronto, Canada. On our show today, there's no such thing as work-life balance. And Heather is a real-life coach and the host of the podcast, Back to Me, Wellness Your Way. Stay tuned. We'll be right back.
Follow Voice America at facebook.com/Voice America for juicy updates from your favorite radio shows and podcasts.
Our thoughts and feelings not only affect our own lives, but the lives of everyone around us. Find new meanings of love, authentic expressions, and better connections with the people in your life. Tune in to Love Light with Dr. Jean Marie Farish. This program will feature guests and discuss ideas that will bring a better life to you. When you find this perspective on love, it will change everything. Listen live every Friday at 12 noon Eastern Time and 9 a.m. Pacific Time on the Voice America Empowerment Channel.
Change your world. Change your life. VoiceAmericaEmpowerment.com.
Become a member of voiceamerica.com. It's easy, and best of all, it's free. Start out by going to our homepage or any of our channels and click register at the top. Once you've created an account and signed in, you can create your own custom library, opt into our newsletter, search by show, host, guest, or topic of interest, or browse millions of hours of content across all of our Voice America radio channels. Membership gets you more. Visit voiceamerica.com today to get started and tailor the listening experience to your taste.
You are tuned in to Love Light with Dr. Jean Marie Farish. Feel free to connect with our program through email or check out our links on Facebook. Reach Jean at Jean72Farish@yahoo.com. That's Jean72Farish@yahoo.com. And now, back to Love Light.
Welcome back to Love Light, living in the spirit of love. And today we are with our outstanding guest, Heather Stewart, joining us from Toronto, Canada. She's a real life coach, host of Back to Me, Wellness Your Way podcast. And she's on our show today. There's no such thing as work-life balance. And Heather's going to really enlighten us with the acronym, the details of that, sharing her stories and how we can actually apply this to our lives. So Heather, take it away.
Thank you so much. So I conveyed a little bit of the story of how I had myself in that place of balance and harmony of all of those pieces. And often when I start helping people, it's not an instantaneous thing to come into balance, and harmony. But the best way to start is to start looking at where you are now. So what I do is I take people through, we start with that acronym BECOME, which is, we'll go over it one more time, your body, your emotions, your community, your occupation, your money, and your engagement. And so I get them to just write the words down on a sheet of paper. And we think about each one at a time. So let's say body is easy. And when I talk about physical health, I'm not talking about whether you're going to be on the cover of Vogue magazine or something, I'm talking about, are you feeling healthy? Are you sleeping enough? Are you eating properly? Do you feel like you are in a space of physical well-being? And those come, as we know, in all shapes and sizes. So we go through each of those letters one at a time, and we visualize, we talk about what the ideal would be for that person. And everybody's got a different idea of, what they want their life to look like. So we start to look at it and in a realistic view. And we give them a score. They give themselves a score. I'm not going to score them out of 1 to 10 for each area. So when you get to the end of that, you've got kind of a view of what areas are doing well and what areas need a little bit of work. So let's say you picked, everything else seemed to be doing well, but your physical health seems to be not so great right now. Maybe it's like a 5 out of 10. Now I'll pause for a minute. So I'm of the philosophy that you can never have a 10 out of 10. And the reason I say that is because, the perfect 10 is not very realistic, and it's not necessarily going to be something that's going to benefit you. I'm a perfect 10 physically, but to get a perfect 10 physically, a lot of people are sacrificing other parts of their lives. And when I think about perfection, I had a therapist one day tell me this story about perfection. And he said, imagine a rose. And it's at the peak of perfection. It's the most beautiful rose you've ever seen. The scent is perfect. The leaves are perfect. The petals are all perfect. The moment it hits perfection, it starts to die. And I thought, oh my goodness, I never want to be perfect.
What an analogy.
Right. So think of it as, you're working to get your scores for each of those areas to a space where they all feel good, So, I had a boss once who said, average is a beautiful place to be. So be average. Who cares? It's a great place to be. We always strive to be more than average, but average is a beautiful place. That's a whole other podcast right there. But yes. So you look at the scores, and the one that's the lowest generally is the one you're going to start to work on. So say your physical health was scored the lowest. So that's where you start to work. So you start, because you can't work on them all at once. It'll be too overwhelming. And I want everyone to feel like everything that they work on is manageable. So we look at, say it's physical health, and you look at it, okay, the other ones are good. They're supporting me. They're pretty good. We're going to start with physical health. And even if your scores are low, knowing that if you start to work on one, because they're so intertwined, the other ones are automatically going to be impacted. So even if you have some that are lower, you pick the one. I'll often say pick the lowest one or the one that'll have the biggest bang for the buck. So if your emotional and your relationships are also low, and your physical health is low, will improving your physical health improve your relationships and your emotional health faster, or will improving your relationships help the other two faster? Like, you pick the one that's going to get you there the fastest. And often, because physical health, especially for people who work a lot, and I talk to overwhelmed overachievers a lot. So people who are constantly putting themselves out and doing everything for everyone else and letting their own health suffer. So if we can start to work on their health, then everything else will benefit from that work. So we look at, if it's your physical health, we say, okay, so what about your physical health right now is a challenge? And I'm not a doctor. I am still a personal trainer and still a yoga teacher. But I look at it from the point of view as people know inside themselves, if we can get to the bottom of it, people often have an instinct of what's going to help them the most. And I'm there to help them dig in and find that. And if it is something physical that needs more attention, we get the resources that they need. Do they need a physical checkup? Do they need to perhaps talk to, maybe if they're having emotional issues, do they need to talk to a professional? And I'm there to support them in that. I'm not a psychologist, but I help unpack the things in each area that are causing the seemingly low scores. And I mean, I hesitate to use the word score because it's not like it's a test. You're not going to fail it. You're not failing. We're just using these numbers to help us get like a temperature, a reading on where would be best to begin. And once you start to begin, we pick. So if you've picked physical health as something you want as your first place to start working, and say for a lot of people, it's really just getting enough sleep in this world. I remember reading the book by Arianna Huffington about, she did a lot of study on sleep, and sleep is the thing that we are lacking the most, and that when we're busy, we will sacrifice first. When if we got the sleep we needed, we wouldn't have a lot of the issues that we suffer from, So maybe the first thing we try is getting enough sleep, and getting quality sleep, which means no TVs in the bedroom and no electronics in the bedroom, and, having a sleep hygiene of maybe turning off your TV and all your electronics an hour before you go to bed. So your body evolved when there was darkness, and it understood when it's dark, you sleep. And now we have so much light, constant light. It's hard to find darkness. So our systems, we haven't evolved to kind of adjust to this fact that we have this light all the time. We have to find a way to unplug ourselves from these artificial lights so that our body understands, oh, now is my time to rest and get some quality rest.
Yes.
And there's lots of things that people can do to help them get that rest. I know some people have trouble sleeping without using, medications or anything. There are practices that you can do. There are easy yoga practices to do, which you probably know. There's breath practices to do. There's just maybe even just reading. I used to read murder mysteries before I went to sleep, but then I'd be too excited. I couldn't sleep. So read something boring before you go to sleep.
Yeah, what works for you to get you in that rest state. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, something to help you wind down. Because when you have, I know some people try to fall asleep in front of the television, but that's not really quality sleep. Your mind is engaged in watching this thing. We know about the blue light coming into your eyes, and your sleep is also a time that your brain processes information. So if it doesn't have a break from this constant input of information, when does it ever get to sort the files? Those days when your desk is so piled with paper, you're like, I just need to cancel all my meetings so that I can sort out these files and put them where they go. That's what your brain's trying to do when you sleep.
Yes.
Right? So you give it some time to sort your files.
Yes.
Yes.
Truly.
And so we go through that whole process. And I'd say as a habit becomes ingrained. So let's say, you start practicing, if it's your physical health and we decide maybe it's sleep, sometimes you can add two things. Maybe it's sleep and drinking enough water or something, something that's not overwhelming. So as those start to become habits where you don't have to remind yourself or think about them, then you start to add on. So let's say you've spent a few weeks getting enough sleep, you're getting hydrated, you're starting to feel physically better. And sometimes it's as easy as that. So then maybe we go back and we evaluate again. So where are you today now in this, at this acronym BECOME? How are you scoring yourself today? And I mean, our moods vary. So some days, if you're in a really bad mood, you might score yourself bad on all of them. So find yourself scoring yourself on days that you feel good. You feel pretty normal. And you might find, oh, now it looks like it's my financial that's the lowest. because I'm feeling good. Things are going good with my relationships. I'm pretty happy these days, but my financial's not looking so good. So what about that? Have I thought about creating, do I have enough for retirement? Do I have enough for my day-to-day expenses? Do I have a 3-month buffer? Do I need some financial advice? And to help me, create some people need a budget. Some people just need a budget. Some people need a longer term plan to get retirement plans in place. Some people so our plan, my husband and I, we have in our, do you have a will? In our wills, we have legacies created for scholarships that we want to create. And, all of these things where what kind of impact you want to leave, as you go through your life, you want to have enough for you. But then when you get to the end, because you can't take it with you, so I hear, what do you want to happen with it at the end? So all of these ideas come through these discussions. And again, you pick one thing, like maybe if you aren't in a place where you are covering your expenses on a monthly basis, maybe we break down, because I do have that financial background as well. Let's break down. I can help you understand what's happening, where maybe you can cut back on spending, or maybe it's something to do with your job because they're interrelated. Maybe it's time for you to ask for a raise, or have more confidence in yourself and get a better job. Or if you're an entrepreneur, helping people figure out what's going on in their business, that it's not creating the income to support them. So it's like all of these things are so intertwined.
Well, Heather, and you help people put this balance and harmony in their lives. So how can people connect with you to really learn more as we move toward closing? How can we connect? How can the listeners connect with you?
You can find everything about me pretty much is on my website, which is heatherstewart.coach. And, all of my links to any socials are there, and you can email me from there, and you can see all the information that I have there. And there's a little quiz on there too. If you're like, I don't know how I'm going to score, there's a quick little quiz on there that'll give you, just a couple pointers on start working on your wellness, thriving.
All right. Well, Heather, thank you so much. And I have to have you return to Love Light to talk more about how to become in harmony with ourselves. And we thank you so much for being here today, sharing your wisdom, your expertise in terms of how to keep ourselves in balance and harmony to create our best lives. So thank you so much for being on Love Light. We ask that listeners tune in, listen back on demand, and share our show with others. And much gratitude to the Voice America team for making this show a reality and for shining their love light around the world. I leave you with an excerpt on balance. Balance the scales of life. Care for yourself inside and out. Live in moderation and do not overextend yourself. Seek a healthy and holistic balance in all areas of your life. Let nothing be done with selfish ambition. Be disciplined with wisdom, grace, and humility. Live practically, be content, and rest when you're weary. Bring harmony, peace, and restoration to your entire being. Thank you so much for our listeners who are tuning in live and on demand. This is Dr. Jean Marie coming to you from Voice America. And until we meet again, remember, an empowered self is a loving self. And keep your love light shining. Thank you so much for tuning in.
Thank you for listening to Love Light this week. Be sure to join Dr. Jean Marie Farish again for another program next Friday at 9 a.m. Pacific Time and noon Eastern Time on the Voice America Empowerment Channel. Have a wonderful week filled with love, self-worth, and better connections.